Despite what the other states might think, South Australia is the nation's live music capital. A new study reveals the festival state has the most paid musicians in the country, with many of the most talented artists being discovered in Adelaide.
And now that's being supported by this study, which originally aimed to highlight the depth of artists in Victoria, but instead uncovered that South Australia in fact has more paid artists than any other state in the country.
What are your first impressions?
It's actually been pretty lively. Yeah. I mean, and I also think it's got some of the, some world-class venues here. I think you've got more than enough venues here. I think actually the problem is local talent and re-energising an audience to go and see it. I mean, you've probably got more venues in that central area of Adelaide than any other city in the Southern Hemisphere. That is, frankly, you could do with a couple more closing down.
Once again, I'm looking for answers, purely because when I hear statements like the ones we just heard, I find them hard to believe. I thought I'd start with someone who has had contact with the thinker in residence.
How long have you been, has your family been operating this hotel?
We've been here now for just on 20 years. We came here in the late 90s because we're acoustic music buffs. Daddy plays banjo, sister plays mandolin, I play a couple of squeeze boxes and whatever.
So did anybody from the Reverb Report, Martin Elborn or any of his staff, make contact with yourselves?
Yes. Martin and a couple of the Reverb people came out for a chat with Dad and my sister Melissa about 6 months ago. And it was, I gather, a good chat, and I gather though, I think one of their main concerns was working out how to sort out the noise problems regarding the new Adelaide Stadium situation. I think they're having some problems down there. But there was about a $350,000 a year annual fund that was set up. Now, I've been hearing stories lately that basically that whole fund's being used to fund taking Adelaide bands to Glastonbury.
Well, that's an interesting connection.
Yeah, it's an interesting connection.
Because Martin Elborn is a band booker from Glastonbury.
Yeah. So, if that money is just being used to take local bands out of the place and even just to one place and not giving them much, you consider what $350,000 a year could do for local festivals, local events, whatever, quite a considerable amount of money.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself if the money is being spent in the right direction, if it's being spent actually looking after local music, or if it's being used to make people look good in other spots.
Wait a second, I got to know more. And I know just the place to find out.
Can you confirm for me the existence of a state government fund for development of live music in South Australia?
There's been since the Diana Laidlaw days a state fund for contemporary live music. Now Di actually managed to win that, got the $500,000 per year. Under Labor, that didn't go up a single cent in over 10 years until the Greens amended the last gambling bill and got some more pokies money put towards live music.
So that money comes from the money that's generated by the pokies?
By the pokies, that's right.
So what does that fund sit at the moment?
Well, it's about $850,000 now.
It's been mentioned and suggested that part of that fund was given to the Thinker in Residence to take some acts to Glastonbury. Is there any truth in that?
Not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean that it's not the case. Certainly I'd be asking government whether or not that is the case. That money should be going to live music and supporting live music in South Australia, so there should be transparency about how it's spent, and I'm sure that the government will be more than happy to share that information, given they say they champion live music in the state.
And who would be the person that we approach with such an inquiry?
Well, at the moment it's the Minister for the Arts, which is Jack Snelling. He wasn't the Minister just before the 2014 election, but he's the Minister now. How
is the music industry made aware of those funds being available?
Look, there's advertising rounds through Arts SA. My understanding is that that's where we'll see it advertised, but I'm not in government, so I'm waiting to see that along with all of the other punters and bands and producers and managers out there. I want to see that money put out to the community and up for grabs.
How important do you feel that live music is to the economy of South Australia?
Oh, look, incredibly important. And that's exactly right. It is important to the economy of South Australia as well as the culture of South Australia. Live music generates income, it generates great things like joy and fantastic experiences. A lot of those do happen in pubs, a lot of those happen in places where people can create their own culture and get away from screen time or this culture where we have people staying at home and being increasingly isolated. Live music brings people together. Now that can't be quantified, however, we have seen studies that show there's also an enormous benefit to our economies of live music.
If you'd like to find out more about where this funding money is spent, just ask the Minister for the Arts, the Honourable Jack Snelling MP, GPO Box 2555, Adelaide 5001.
So if you were to have any advice for the next generation of young musicians coming into the industry, what would it be?
Get out and play wherever you can. Get yourself seen, get yourself heard, have fun. Always make sure you're having fun, because if you're not having fun, you're not going to do your music well, are you? The only other thing I'll say is ask somebody. If you want to know where there's a few old farts floating around the place that are quite happy to give you whatever advice that you can or point you in a direction, and also don't let yourself get sucked in by people who are going to promise you the world.
Now, Robert, you have been a music journalist for how long?
25 years.
And you've seen a lot, I would imagine, in your career.
I have seen a lot over the years, yes.
Now, specifically, you have reported on the Adelaide live music scene.
Yes, yeah, generally, yes, Adelaide. I have a lot of friends who are musicians and they're my age, and they say, oh, the scene's not as good as what it was now, it's not as vibrant. I was arguing with them, oh yeah it is, and it's just because you don't go out and see the younger bands. Like here in Adelaide there's a thriving heavy metal scene. There's actually a thriving folk scene.
Do you think that pokies still have an impact on live music now?
No, not as much as what they did. I mean, they said pokies would increase live music because people would go to the pub and want to see live music when they weren't playing the pokies. I think that was some
furphy.
Yes, some furphy. But I think pokies are slowly dying. I think.
Do you agree that those that go to pokies go to play pokies, and those that go to see live music see live music, and they don't really impact on each other?
I'd agree with that. Yes. I don't. Yeah.
Do you think that liquor licensing plays a role in inhibiting the progress of live music in South Australia?
In some ways, yeah. In some ways. I mean, I used to go to those shows back in those days where, you know, you took your own beers and had eskies and no one got injured, no one got hurt, everyone had a good time, there's no security there.
What would you see as the biggest challenges for a professional musician in South Australia today?
Finding consistent gigs, earning the money, because that's another issue, as people have pointed out to me. We used to play in bands X number of years ago. I'm still getting paid the same amount that I was getting 20 years ago.
So no CPI increase?
No. You know, I used to get $100 back then. I get $100 now, and you know, beers used to be 28 cents a schooner back then, and now they're $7 a pint. Figure that one out.
Doesn't make much sense, does it?
No.
It's not like I don't like your attention, and I sure do love your smile, but it's not like I don't have a plan.
Do you find with some of the older, more veteran acts that they're somewhat a bit jaded and not really kept up with times?
I think some of them, without naming any names, yes, some of them are a bit jaded and haven't kept up with trends, or well, not musical trends, but just with the way things are going and stuff. And it is harder to get gigs these days because back in my day, bands could put their own gigs on. They'd hire a church hall and throw a gig on a Saturday night. But now there's all government restrictions in regards to that, as far as licensing laws go and insurance and all that kind of thing.
That I need to come and go, and I hope you'd agree that you need to come and go. Just as you please.
Do you think that the young ones have a little bit more of an advantage because of social media, etc.?
I think so, yes. Social media is a great tool as far as getting your word out about what you're doing.
And filling audiences.
And, yeah, informing. A survey said that 70% of people now find out about gigs or concerts via Facebook. And if you're good at what you do and you create a following, as lots of bands have done, then it all seems to flow onto each other. Then you get invited to play festivals, you pick up more followers, all that kind of thing.
See, you got a mean streak, baby. Guilty, see, you got a mean streak, honey. I seen it, heard it, felt it, breathed it. See, you got a mean streak, honey. Guilty, see, you got a mean streak, baby. Guilty, see, you got a mean streak, honey. I seen it, heard it, felt it. It's great.
Every city council runs public events, and they're a great source of paid gigs for both experienced and relatively new performers.
How important to South Australia do you think live music is?
I think live music is critical. In my own electorate, the electorate of Norwood, the Kensington Residents Association, the KRA, has organised an initiative which has live music at the Kenzie Hotel for the first Tuesday of every month. We have a professional group for the first hour, but then it's open mic. It's been extraordinarily high calibre performance.
I have found that open mics have been the spawning ground of some great long-term working musicians here in Adelaide.
Yeah, no, look, we've had some great groups that have come through and some great local performers as well, and occasionally they ask me to MC it. I haven't got a lot of musical talent, I must say, and I'm very pleased that they don't ask me to participate. But you need performers and you need an audience, and they're the two great ingredients in live music.
Red lipstick.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Lovely to meet you.
Now, couldn't you tell? And your name is?
Celeste. Vicky.
Aaron.
Deanna.
Excellent. And how long have you been in the business?
Too long. Don't tell anybody.
What do you call too long?
Many 10 years? Yeah. Many years. It varies between us, yeah, but probably between 8 to 10 years for all of us.
Excellent. So tell me, what sort of gigs do you normally play as a singing group?
So we do a lot of community events, we do a lot of charity events, fundraisers and things like that.
How do you, with your experience in the industry so far, how do you find the state of live music in South Australia? Is it hard to get a gig?
It takes some time. Yes. Once you get in there, it's not too bad, but it does take some time if you're starting out. So you need to get yourself into somewhere that's really going to help you launch yourself into the industry.
And do you guys work through an agency?
We are self-managed, actually. We're through Talent Work Studios, so
right.
We do, which is the owner.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, obviously.
Very nice to meet you, man.
Talent Work Studios, yes.
So tell me, how important is social media in the success of an act such as yours?
Social media is really important, actually, and it's really helpful because even with gigs like tonight, we've told everybody that we're performing here. We've got a whole bunch of people coming to watch, which is great because you'd love to show your family and friends, and also people that have seen you at gigs, they can stay connected with you as well. So definitely recommend it.
So call your head up, girl, and you'll go far. Listen to me when I say I'm beautiful in my way. Just gotta make no mistake, I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Don't have yourself in regret, just love yourself and yourself. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Ooh, there ain't no other way, baby. I was born this way. Baby, I was born this way.
How are we, boys?
Good.
Hey, let me ask you quickly, I know you're busy, but so the last time I saw you, you were busking for the gig.
Yeah.
This one's a paid gig?
Yeah, that's right. This one's paid.
I bet you enjoy that.
Yeah.
Tell me, do you prefer the big events like this to work in the streets?
They're both good, I guess. They're pretty different, but good balance is good, I guess.
Good on you, mate. It's all about the art, isn't it? Good on you.
Indoors at this event was young, energetic and loud.
How long's Exit been together?
We've been together for 4 years now.
Right, and was that your first band?
Yeah, my first ever band. My teacher actually worked at one of the other schools that that band was at. Had everyone, had the guitarist, drummer, bass player, and he saw me, he knew I could sing at the school and bring us all together.
Tell me, how do you find it getting gigs?
Well, That's something actually to ask our manager. We don't really take much part in the.
So you do have management?
But yeah, we've got a manager. He's the guy who found us. Lee.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you think that social media plays a big role in getting your crowds attracted to your gigs?
Yes, it would definitely. Yeah, because we use Facebook a lot, telling everyone to come to our gigs that we go to and shit like that.
Right. One more question. Overall, with all the gigs that you do, what would be the percentage of paid gigs to community or busking gigs?
Probably about 50-50 actually for us, yeah.
So you're dedicated to it?
Yeah, we try to get as much money out of it as we can, but some have to be for charity.
That's showbiz.
I will take you away.
Outside, a little more sedate, and yet another genre of young musicians. I spotted the Premier himself and took my moment for a quick chat.
Can you tell me what impact do you think that live music has on events such as this in South Australia?
Absolutely profound. I mean, the whole live music scene is just such an essential part of actually animating a city. We've spent a lot of time thinking about that. We brought in Mark Elbron, thinker and wrestler, and he's come in and given us some great ideas. What he found actually is that there are actually more live musicians, working musicians here than per capita here than actually even in Melbourne. So there's a lot of people here.
Arguably South Australia's best show band, Lucky 7 have been belting it out at big and small events for 10 years and shows no signs of stopping yet.
Once I get you up there, where the air is cold, we're gonna glide, absolutely terrified. But when you up there, I'll be holding you so near. Yeah, you might even hear a gang of angels cheer. But we're there, well, why, there's such a groovy day. You just say the word and get the bird down to walk on Bullful Bay. It's perfect for flying when you move and say, so come find me, my left side. Have a fly away.
Gentlemen, when you first started in the live music scene compared to now, how has it changed, if at all?
For me, I've kind of really only come in the last 10 years or so I don't think a lot's changed. I think there are more venues trying to open up now compared to how they were before.
He's driving a jeep, but he ain't the army. He gets all his cigarette money from his mommy. He's dressed like a rootin' tootin' Texas cowboy. Office Lone Ranger never seen a horse. I wanna be a man. Wanna be American. What's the bike under the rain? 'Cause that's his baby's favorite.
in terms of marketing Lucky 7, how important is social networking?
Very important.
Yeah,
very, very important. We have we've got over 5,000 contacts through Facebook. We also use Twitter and we use other social networks as well, Instagram, other things like that. Particularly good if we go away on a trip somewhere, we can post up photos, let people back home know what we're up to. So yeah, it's a big part of what we do. Have a web presence as well, we've got our own website. So things like that are yeah, really important.
You would have seen a lot of jazz come and go.
I have, yeah, mostly go.
Mostly go. Well, speaking of that, how would you compare the state of play for jazz at the moment as compared to its heyday?
It's a bit slow at the moment.
Yeah.
A lot of their old stages have died off, of course, over the years, and it's getting down to smaller groups. Instead of sort of 6-piece groups, now we're doing sort of quartets and trios and duos even.
If you were to, if you had any advice for the next generation of jazz musicians coming into the trade, what would you give them?
Don't give up your day gig.
Always keep a real job?
Yeah, keep a real job on.
In jazz, going from studying to stage can be a long and arduous process. Going down the academic path of music is a science, and the pressure can be enormous.
How long have you been playing jazz?
I started playing saxophone and sort of trying to be a jazz musician when I was about 17. I was a classical clarinet player up until then. Always wanted to be a jazz musician, always wanted to play jazz, loved it. To make a living as a jazz musician in this town, I think is almost impossible, and I think that's I'd say that's almost nationwide. That's a very difficult thing, and I saw the same thing in the States. Every great musician is aligning themselves with the university. They all go and teach.
you been playing?
Jazz since I was about 18. But,
Here in South Australia?
Yeah, in South Australia.
Indeed. And yourself?
I started when I was about 22 and then gave it up for about 30 years. Because I was running a church and then come back and been together now for another 3 or 4, so having a ball.
Having played in South Australia for such a long time, do you remember the days of the pizza place down on Anzac Highway that had the Saturday Night Jazz?
I do.
Did you ever play there at all?
No, I didn't play. No, probably in those years I was still playing rock and roll, but
right.
Say late teens, early 20s, I was playing a bit of jazz, but it was the Pizza
Pizza Palace.
Pizza Palace, yes.
Yeah, Dick Frankel,
yes.
Eddie White, all those guys.
Yes.
Yeah, I must admit, I grew up going there on a Saturday night with my parents, and we'd follow the bouncing ball on the screen and sing along. And since you've, because you've played in other genres of music, as you just mentioned, rock and roll, etc., is it more enjoyable playing jazz?
No question.
Really?
Well, rock and roll puts you in a straitjacket, I think, as a drummer.
Right.
I mean, certainly the rock and roll I played was mostly covers, so you're expected to play what people expect to hear from the record.
Yeah, right.
Whereas with jazz, every performance is different.
Many musicians have been saying to me that they've been, these days they're getting paid less than or the same as what they were getting paid 20 years ago. Is that the case for you guys?
I think so. Yes, I mean, getting back to that 60s reference, we were paid very well. There were plenty of gigs and we were well paid. That scene's changed. The live music scene has changed a lot.
Certainly has.
So, yes, gigs are harder to get and paying gigs even harder to get.
To my room, woman. I could be just all over. And when you meet me tonight, just I'm waiting for you. And yes, dear my love, was loving for her child.
Fly me to the moon and let me swing among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand.
Hello, darling, all right? It's going on.
You got hairy fingers.
No, I haven't.
In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me swing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore.
Come in.
In other words, please be true. In other words, baby, I love you. If you fly me to the moon, let me swing among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
How do you find the standard of youth talent coming into jazz these days?
Very good. I haven't played a new number for 60 years, and all these young guys are actually playing numbers that I've been playing for 60 years, and they're interpreting it just as good as I am.
A lot of jazz gigs still left in South Australia?
Oh,
So it's alive and well?
Oh yes, yeah, reasonably. The big problem is that with the jazz stuff is that you've got to supply the people as well. With the rock stuff, they just rock along, but you've got to go to a venue, and the venue want the music, and you want you to supply the people like we have today.
So a loyal following is very important.
It's the only way to do it.
In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, won't you kiss me?
Mike and I have been in the business about 25 years, and we started off together at school. You know, we started singing together in school bands, which were big bands back in those days at high school. I'm a tenor sax player, Mike's a trumpet player. Just listen to all the greats, Nat Cole, you know, Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr.
And it spurred you on.
Spurred us on, and our parents had a great love for this music too, so it made it really easy for us to find our way in this.
Yeah.
The young guys are great to work with because they're hungry. You know, some of the older guys, not that they're tired, it's a different way of playing. The younger guys are a bit more edgy, and they're more amenable to us changing things up. So we come up with crazy ideas all the time, like you might have heard us do Moves Like Jagger. We come up with the arrangement for that, and they love doing that stuff because it's current.
Yeah.
It makes us more current too.
In other words, please be true. In other words,
I love you. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is David Goodwin on piano. These young guys frighten the hell out of us.
And I've been playing since I was about 10. There's 17
And how old
now.
are you now?
17.
17,
Yeah.
and you're playing with the likes of these guys.
Yeah, I know. I'm very lucky to be picked up by Mike and Steve, but yeah, I guess it's through playing people and getting to know contacts and everything, but yeah, I'm very privileged to be playing with these guys. So.
Tell me, do you ever feel intimidated working with older musicians that have got more experience?
Well, yeah, I mean, I completely respect these guys, and I know that they've had years more experience than I have. But my grandfather's a jazz trombone player, so I grew up with having professional musicians. I mean, going to events, seeing these guys play, and sort of growing up with them, sort of being like sort of another family as such. I mean, so I got to know a lot of these older guys, and I feel comfortable around them. So I mean, when you're on the stage playing with them, it sort of just feels it's just all about the music, really. So they support you, and I support them with music and everything. So yeah, I feel really comfortable around them.
Good on you. The jazz scene in South Australia, when you started out, how does it compare to now?
It's kind of difficult now. You know, a lot of venues aren't promoting live entertainment as much as they did, I guess because of the pokies. But for the main, there's venues like this. Venues are in places like, you know, in the eastern suburbs they do a lot. In some of the bigger pubs they have bands on. It's probably like it was really. It's just that it seems less. We're doing a lot more stuff in the States.
Yeah, right. So you're having to leave the borders to get serious work.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing about entertainers these days is the young guys that are playing now are still earning the same money they were earning 20 years ago. So it hasn't really gone up with economics, hasn't sort of pushed up entertainment. I think that there needs to be more respect for the type of people that work in this industry to give them an opportunity to make enough money to live on, because these guys are all working for quite minimal wages. Some we're lucky in what we do. We do some fairly big corporate gigs, so we pick up the bigger money. But day-to-day pub workers, like, you know, they're not getting paid probably as much as someone working in a pub for the amount of hours they do. So they need to lift that if they want to make the industry thrive more.
in other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, won't you kiss me?
Why don't you fill my heart with song? Let me swing forevermore. Because you are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I said, in other words, I love you.
The Capri Cinema in Goodwood is home to one of the most unusual and charming live music performances in the city.
How long have you been playing this organ here?
I've been playing it for about 5 years now.
Is it a thrill every time you do it?
Pretty much. Like all musicians, I guess it depends a lot on the audience.
Yeah. Now, it must be a unusual thing for the audience because live performance in a cinema is not a common occurrence.
No, which is really weird because it certainly was when the movies were silent. And in fact, that's the reason why those were invented, because they started off with a whole orchestra, very expensive. Even in those days, they had to make money. Much cheaper to pay one organist. We have a whole range of functions. We have organ concerts, wedding receptions and wedding services. We have special events, Rocky Horror, Grease Sing-Along, and the Mike Stewart Big Band. They love playing here because the acoustics are so great, and of course the big band with the organ just sounds fantastic.
I bet.
It's a very special experience in South Australia.
I bet. How do you view the state of live music in South Australia these days?
One thing is really clear is that live music is not nearly as valued as what it used to be, and I think there's a few contributing factors for that. One is the availability of high quality music from DJs, and the second one is the introduction of random breath testing. I started playing publicly live in the early 80s, and people dancing on tables, and it was great fun, and we'd go on until 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. RBTs came in, 2 beers, people got bored quickly, and that had a huge impact on the live music. It's clear that the value of live music is probably undervalued given the investment of time and effort people need to put into learning to play an instrument. But part of the reason I think is the reason why it's undervalued is simply because of the semantics associated with the word play. If children go out to play, they're expected to have a good time, and it's free form and pretty relaxed, and they're playing and enjoying themselves. Whilst ever musicians continue to use the word play instead of working, I think that their working will be undervalued.
I had the dream, and I fell 50 metres off Merino Rocks, which is a cliff here in Adelaide, South Australia, and I was in a band that was going places and looking at contracts, and yeah, I was in a coma and came out of the coma, this is very cut short, and then decided to give it a break.
Funny Valentine.
Joanne was not expected to walk or talk again, let alone sing. Such is the healing power of music.
You make me smile with my heart. Your looks are laughable. Unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak? When you open it to speak, are you smart?
You've spent 12 years in prison for armed robbery.
Yes.
And I believe that a radical change took place when you discovered music.
Yes.
How did music affect this change for you?
Well, it wasn't so much music as it was writing songs. It allowed me to win, because every other day I was not winning. But in my songs, the protagonists in my songs win. They end up happy.
Have you found it difficult after such a long period in prison, coming out, embracing live music and performance, trying to work your way in and achieve in the live music industry at all?
Yeah, I've found it difficult, but mainly because of I'm quite constrained.
How so?
I have a lot of parole conditions, and from what I've been able to work out, opportunities for me in pubs and playing in venues and stuff like that, I'm not allowed.
Do you feel that music has turned your life around?
Art has turned my life around. Just art, in general. That's the purity for me. It's human spirit. It's the best part, is art.
Do you think that it's enough to sustain your soul in the rest of your endeavours in your life?
Sure. I am art.
In prison, were you exposed to music much there?
Yes, a lot of bad music. It depends on who was around. Everyone seemed to be, it was the battle of the radios. But for me, it was the poetry, literature, visual art, music, the whole canvas brought me to life. Kept me from despair.
A wise man once said to me, if you want to know about something, talk to someone who's been doing it the longest.
How hard do you think it is for the youth of today to enter the music industry?
Well, it's really not hard if you have a go. Nothing's beyond achieving if you have a go.
So do you think that in your time it was just a little easier?
A little bit of luck. Yeah, it's a little bit easier, but today, no, it wasn't easy. It's never easy. Today, there's more opportunities today because you got all these talent quests. And they get instant fame without doing the hard yards. So today it's all about visual. 70% of the records today, 70% of what sells a record today is visual. And when I first started television, it's 70% how you look, how you come across, and 30% how you sound. Because it's all film clips now. Film clips override the voice and everything else. Film clips sell a song.
Oh, I don't believe it, but I didn't believe it myself, John. Thanks, Chad. They were just great. Incidentally, Trev Rick and Dennis had a wing-ding of a time the other weekend at Berry on the River Murray in South Australia with Chad. Do you remember much about it, boys? Only drinking Coca-Cola. Let's hear Trev Rick and Dennis play Invitation to the Blues. Trev Rick and Dennis.
81 years old, you're still working as a professional musician. Do you utilise social media, Facebook, that sort of thing?
Absolutely, because without the media, we're nothing. You have to have exposure. If you're not in the window, if you're in the media, you're half sold. If you've got a product, if you get it out there, whether it's on YouView or YouTube, you've got a chance.
Yeah.
Because it's about promoting your wares.
Can I say, what can I do? You don't know I'm in love with you. You walk on by and pass the time of day.
How many years have you actually been performing now?
46.
46 years. So you'd have seen a large amount of changes in the live music scene over the years.
Yeah, my first band was with Lynn Randell when she had a hit called Chow Baby in the 60s. So it was like, my introduction to music was
like a gift. You know.
Do you think it's easier these days? The younger ones are now utilising social media such as Facebook, Twitter, etc. You wouldn't have had those things.
No, we didn't have anything like that. I mean, I utilise a lot of that now. I do use Twitter, Instagram, you know.
Does that sort of marketing work?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's why the kids are using it, because they get through to such a broad appeal, you know.
I take the ways to make a play. When it comes down to it, I run away to get so near, but yet I don't know how. Can you see it coming back? To break that spell that keeps me high.
Well, now look, you've performed all around the world, but in terms of South Australia, how do you see the South Australian live music scene nowadays compared to what it was?
Oh, there's no comparison. You know, we've lost guys who were integral to the South Australian music scene. Were guys like Brian Gleeson and you know, Ivan Tanner to a certain extent. He was with Gleeson and
they were agents.
They were agents. In the old days, we had Robbie Robson. You know, he runs Deventon Hall. He owns that now. So so the people who had the band's interest at heart aren't there as much. People who are agents now work for pubs. You know, somebody's got the Hurley Group, so they'll be the agent. You know, and you find yourself working with that or Dick Jones Group. You know, who owns Bridgeway, Midway, blah blah blah. You know, it's a very segregated thing.
So the agents are representing the venues rather than the artists these days.
I'll get my ass kicked for saying it, but I would think so. You know, I believe that they're not looking after the artist as much as they are the agent. We'll go to them with the fee. They'll come back to us and say, "Oh, they're only going to say," "No, that's the fee. The reason it's structured as a fee, that's the price that I go for." You know, my thing has been to try and get the Adelaide musicians to come together, and there used to be a we factor in it. You know, you can use my amp because I'm coming up, you know, next, so you use my Marshall, and you know, you save your Marshall sort of thing, and it's like, okay, not a problem. Use my drum kit, so we don't bring two drum kits. We don't have to lug in. We use one PA. You know, just get you guys to help them.
So a lot of cooperation and collaboration.
Absolutely. I mean, down to the fact that I never owned a drum kit when I first started. You know, like, seriously. You know, I just used to use the other guy's drum kit. We couldn't afford a drum kit in those days.
And you find it's different now?
Oh yeah.
Is it a fair thing to say that Adelaide in particular faces a unique set of obstacles with the live music scene that other cities don't face?
Yeah. The Fringe, WOMAD, the Guitar Festival.
And the Arts Festival.
The Arts Festivals, you know. I've got a Nat King Cole show. I've got a soul show with 13-piece band. I've got Swanee. I've got my new album coming out. I've got an acoustic act, I've got a soul acoustic act, and I've got a normal acoustic act. And I can only work Swanee. I can't get anything else. And I still can't get into WOMAD, you know, yet South Australian government is paying for that. You know, it's funded by the South Australian government.
And yet one of our most successful names in the industry can't get in.
Yeah, and I get work. I work more at the other festivals interstate than what I do here. You know.
I could write it in a letter, but it all brings up a shame that I'm gonna have to ask you. Lady, what's your name? You're so brother. Can I walk beside you in the rain? Oh, and just a little smile will make my day. Loving you must make me live. Yeah.
whilst Martin Elborn, the thinker in residence, was here, did he or any of his staff make contact with you?
No.
Not at all?
No. The thing is that I offered to do the same thing. I wrote to the Premier Weatherall. He was a Musicians' Union's lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So he should know better than anybody who's got the genuine look at who's doing what. Not in their interest. We've got to look at the interest of everybody. You can't look at when we get politicians who are giving out grants and they're going to some left of centre guy who's going to Prague to learn to finger paint, in Estonian, I wonder.
I think you've got more than enough venues here. I think actually the problem is local talent and re-energising an audience to go and see it. I mean, you've probably got more venues in that central area of Adelaide than any other city in the Southern Hemisphere. That is, frankly, you could do with a couple more closing down.
On the evidence that I've seen, the state of play of live music in South Australia is alive and well, and is likely to continue growing in the coming generations. It's up to you, the audience, to get off your bums, go out there, watch live performance and support South Australia's live music industry. Vote with your feet. Don't leave it to the politicians, and you can decide the future for live music in South Australia.